The definition of insanity in my industry is me not being able to see my own truth. So every single person that I meet, including you, are only operating around 45 to 55% of your capability because we don't truly know our identity. It's usually our job or our partner. So when we come away from that, we don't have any identity. So we don't really know how powerful we are. Like, I would hate anybody to get to the age of 80, look back on their lives and realize there was nobody watching. And you really could have done anything you wanted to do. So do it. What's stopping you? Why are you putting the brakes on your imagination, guys? Because once you let go, once you understand the epigenetics, the neuroscience behind this, the quantum physics behind who we are, don't dare tell me you can't achieve your dreams. It's not true. Somebody's put that there.
Addiction. When you hear that word, you might think of alcohol, drugs, maybe gambling. But what if addiction is actually a much bigger story? A human story, one shaped by trauma, by biology, and even by the survival instincts that helped our species make it this far. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Robb Kelly, a world-renowned addiction expert who's worked with thousands of people, from high-profile celebrities to everyday folks, helping them break cycles and reclaim their lives. Together, we'll look at addiction beyond substances, into the patterns society often rewards, like overworking, consumerism, and achievement chasing. We'll explore how these cycles are rooted in generational trauma, carried forward through epigenetics, and why true recovery takes more than abstinence. It requires a fundamental shift in how you see yourself and the world around you. This isn't just a conversation about addiction. It's about the human blueprint and how changing your story today can reshape the stories of generations to come. I'm your host, Ryan Olekson, and this is Beyond 80%. Dr. Robb, welcome to Beyond 80%. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, no, my pleasure. My pleasure. I can't wait for this.
Okay, let's jump right into it. So you've worked with thousands of clients across the globe, seeing addiction in all forms and contexts. So I'd love to start by grounding listeners in your perspective from your personal journey or your clinical work that forever changed the way that you view addiction.
What a great question. So I'm outside alcoholic, I've lost everything. My two little babies, everything's gone. I'm on the street. One morning, I'm stood outside this liquor store, but not supposed to have alcohol until 10. I'm there at 5:30. Picture the scene. I'm sweating profusely. I have a vest on, pair of shorts, flip-flops. It's snowing. It's minus goodness knows what. And I'm sweating and shaking. I couldn't put our senses together. And this guy knows me. So he opens the door and I sneak in and he locks the door behind me. And we don't say any words. And I put my tent on the counter and he put the bottle of vodka. And I still don't know why, but this is what I did. Headache stopped, shake stopped, sweating stopped. Great mood instantly. I remember holding it, looking at the shopkeeper, looking back at the alcohol and go, holy shit, it's not about the alcohol. That was the groundbreaking thing for me that I swore if I ever got off the streets, I'm going to spend the rest of my life finding out what addiction and alcoholism is, because it's not what they're telling me. If I could have just stopped drinking, I would have, but I couldn't. And yet everything else in my life I was successful with. I still stayed in the street for 6 months after, but that was the turning point when I got off the streets thinking, okay, somebody needs to do this, because being told that just stop drinking or go to AA or just stop for your kids. And I knew there were people like me out there that couldn't do that. So that's when we set in-depth research. We spent $1.5 million over the years on specific research, trials and tests on our own. We don't get anything from anybody else. And we've got it. We can cure addiction. Now we can arrest alcoholism because it's down to the basal ganglia and the hypothalamus. People will be baffled, believe me, when we tell them. But yeah, that's where it started for me.
So based on that experience, what is a myth that you find yourself correcting most often about addiction?
Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic, all that stuff is not true. You can't fully recover from drug addiction or sex. Whatever it is pertaining to psych, we cure. You 100% can. Alcoholism is about alcohol. If me and you went on the streets now in San Antonio, we asked 10 people what an alcoholic is, they're probably going to say this. It's somebody who drinks too much alcohol or somebody who can't control the alcohol. Alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism. And the same with every other addiction. It's not about the drugs, the food, the porn, the sex. That's a big myth. The other one is it's a choice. Alcoholics are born and drug addicts are made. So alcoholics don't have a choice because of certain brain parts. We've traced it back to fetus level imprinted genes about alcoholism. That's how serious we got at one time. That's the big myth, that you can just make a choice. It's a choice whether you drink or not, take drugs or not. This is where it gets real. Alcoholics have a predisposition, allergic to the ethanol in alcohol, and three parts of the brain differ: hypothalamus, basal ganglia, and the amygdala to any other addiction. A drug addiction is about the addicted personality. Now, 90% of people that come to me with a staunch heroin or cocaine addiction started in the doctor's office. They both show up the same. So drug addicts, well, I've got a disease as well. You actually haven't. You've got this addicted personality, which again, show up the same, but you haven't got the hypothalamus that hijacks the brain. Hypothalamus is the survival part of the brain that tells us categorically you have to drink water and eat food to survive. It's the survival part of the brain. At a certain point of the alcoholic's career, the hypothalamus hijacks the brain and tells the brain to drink alcohol to survive. I'm concentrating on getting that alcohol because my survival part of the brain is telling me if I don't, I'm going to die.
So you're saying that the alcoholism piece is genetic, and that's what we're talking about right now with the hypothalamus asking for that survival instinct.
Yes.
Okay. The drug addiction is more about the personality.
Drug addiction depends heavily on childhood trauma. Everybody has it. It's looking at a few things with drug addiction. It's looking at behavioral, learned behavior, enmeshment, where you were born, how the family acted. I mean, if you're a young girl in an alcoholic, dysfunctional house where father comes home 2 or 3 times a week and gets into a fist fight with mom, and the child sees this, but the next day, the husband's like, I love you. What that child learns is violence equals love. So the mind, which sits inside the brain, will go on to attract that same like-minded energy from another person that will end up beating her or drinking and using too much, to the extent that if she finds a good guy, like say when she's at college, she will categorically self-sabotage that relationship because it doesn't feel right.
This is interesting. There is a lot of thought. I'm thinking of Gabor Mate talks about this, where it's not so much a genetic component that drives these addictive behaviors and patterns. It's more of the cycle of how they grew up. Does that also apply in that alcoholic scenario, or we're just focused right now on the drug abuse scenario?
Well, it does add to the alcoholic when you've got to take into consideration your childhood trauma, where you were brought up, how you were introduced to alcohol. Anything we do pertaining to alcoholism or addiction, where we live as we grow up, has an effect. So that comes down to the subconscious brain. The fight between the conscious and subconscious brain happens all day long. So the subconscious brain wakes us up. And the reason why it wakes us up is lack of oxygen. So the subconscious brain thrives in hypoxic situations and areas. So on a normal circadian sleep pattern between the hours of 2 and 5 o'clock in the morning is when the body is at most repair. There's like very little oxygen while the body repairs itself. So when we wake up, the subconscious brain wakes us up. We got a method of getting rid of that guy and introducing the conscious brain. So it's a bit like that. You know, with the morning routine, you'll come from your conscious brain. But 2 things. The subconscious brain is in the background looking for anything that's going to go wrong or can go wrong. So you can 100% forget the 99% of a great day. It will concentrate on that 5 minutes and it'll make a big deal. And people do it all the time. Oh, I've had a bad day at work. Was it really a bad day? Or was it 5 minutes that you strung out all day? It's always the 5 minutes. So you've got to make sure every hour, every minute you come from the conscious brain. You can achieve everything you want to achieve. Childhood trauma, learned behavior brings in the subconscious brain. He tells you, don't be stupid. You can't do that. Who do you think you are? It's very important that we look at patterns. Everything's about patterns and routine. Everything in life, numbers, patterns, routine. These patterns we don't see because what happens with the basal ganglia is it's a learning part of the brain. So if like driving a car, when you first do it and you're real careful and you're scared of everything. And after a few months go by, you can reverse down the driveway, speaking to the girlfriend, waving to mom and listening to music at the same time. Why? Because the repetition strength confirms has become a working part of the mind. So you don't even think about it. Them patterns, self-destructive patterns, happen every single day in the brain.
I think this is truly the key to a lot of problems that we humans see throughout our lives. What is like a quick way that people could recognize that their subconscious patterns are taking over?
Anything that's negative in your life, if you can't keep a relationship, if everything seems to go wrong, stop right there and start your day again. I am a 10 out of 10 every day. I don't have bad days. Now, we have better days than others, all of us, but it comes a lot from childhood. So back home in England, we used to play soccer. You kick a ball around the street and you would shout to each other, Jimmy, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a footballer. What about you, Billy? I want to be a doctor. Do you know what happened to them dreams? They got kicked out of us by our family and friends. Don't be silly. You can't be a doctor. We live on the projects. Well, hello. And we carry that through life. And that sits in the subconscious brain. And when an opportunity arises, boom, the subconscious brain will kick in and remember what mum said. You're not clever enough. You're too stupid. And that will take over your life if you haven't cleared that trauma up.
Yeah. And that can redirect your entire world perspective from that point on.
100%. And it affects you like you don't know. The definition of insanity in my industry is me not being able to see my own truth. So every single person that I meet, including you, are only operating around 45 to 55% of your capability because we don't truly know our identity. It's usually our job or our partner. So when we come away from that, we don't have any identity. So we don't really know how powerful we are. Like, I would hate anybody to get to the age of 80, look back on their lives and realize there was nobody watching. And you really could have done anything you wanted to do. So do it. What's stopping you? Why are you putting the brakes on your imagination, guys? Because once you let go, once you understand the epigenetics, the neuroscience behind the quantum physics behind who we are, don't dare tell me you can't achieve your dreams. It's not true. Somebody's put that there.
Yeah. I love that you have the perspective of being from a different culture. So maybe you can add a little flavor to this as well. But the culture that we're in now, there are a lot of messages that we hear on a day-to-day basis about, you know, if you're a certain gender, race, or from a certain socioeconomic status, there are things you can and cannot do. Do you think that plays more heavily into people's mindsets, their subconscious, than they realize that it does?
Like 1,000,000,000%. And it's hard to pull away from that. You can't do it on your own. You need people around you. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future, to bring them strength out, to bash them barriers. They say, look at me as the guy who's on the projects, a very poor family, who was homeless, lost his kids, who stabbed his wife 3 times one night because she wouldn't let me finish my bottle of vodka. That guy becoming the leading authority in the US on addiction, alcoholism. I mean, is that even possible? Well, yeah. But I couldn't do it on my own. It's humanly impossible. There's a prime example of, you know, working class people like me are not supposed to be where I am. They're not supposed to mix with the people I mix with. But then that becomes an old myth. It's 2025. Even going back in England many years, you could tell the wealthy. They would dress different. They would wear things different. They'd have the tall hats and the carriage. You just knew they were rich. Today, you don't. Most of us have smashed them boundaries already. Because the guy sat in the waiting room with a Walmart t-shirt on and shoes from Temu is probably a billionaire. You'd never know. So it's easier to break ground and break through barriers than it was years ago. This is a prime time to come out and do your stuff, guys.
Love it. Well said. So a lot of people think that addiction is only in terms of drugs or alcohol. And, you know, as we're talking about culture, I think this is important to bring up. But your work really challenges that narrow definition, pointing out the patterns that we don't always recognize as addiction. So how do you define addiction in the broadest sense?
If you're doing something, now I go to the gym every day, Rob, it's amazing. You don't think it's an addiction, do you? Well, if you go on vacation with the family, the wife and kids, and you arrive in Spain at 8 o'clock, and at 9 o'clock, you're already searching around for the nearest gym, that's a bad addiction. It takes you away from family and friends. It's not great for you. That addicted personality is attached to that, and it's who you become. So we have to monitor. There are some kind of good addictions around, but if you have addicted personality, you're going to take everything to the excess. You see, alcoholics and addicts don't have a middle setting. We have a hot and a cold. I don't do middles. I either do something or I don't. I'm either pregnant or I'm not. You're either in or you're out. There's no measures there.
What are some socially rewarded addictions like overworking or shopping that can be just as destructive as substance addiction, but go unnoticed?
What about the guy in the office? He's typing away, the sales guy or something. Boss comes over to him. Hey, Jimmy, can you get me that report by noon on Friday? Yeah, no problems, boss. Monday, Tuesday goes by. Got to do that report. Wednesday goes by. Thursday goes by. Friday morning, he gets to work at 9 a.m. He's got 3 hours to get that report in. So he starts typing on his computer and he's sweating and he's guzzling down energy drinks. And at 5 to 12, he presses send. And do you know what he tells himself? I work well under pressure. Nobody works well under pressure. Come back to me when you're 40 and you look 90. It's not good for you, but we convince ourselves because we have a routine that it's good for us. And most of the time it's not. So everything has to be balanced in life. Once you start to tick one way or the other, it's not going to end well for you. And that's where we find peace, and that's where we find joy, and that's where we find identity. Like, I plan out my day. I have no idea, Ryan, what I'm doing tomorrow. My assistant will send my day tonight at 6 p.m. It always happens. I'm not interested in tomorrow. I'm not interested in yesterday. Depression, anxiety. I'm interested in today. And if you can stay within the day, the 24 hours, that's where all the miracles happen. But you don't see that because your head's racing. You don't see what's in front of you. Once we can control that, 99.999% of the people say to me, oh my God, I got these opportunities. I can't believe my life. They were always there. You just couldn't see them until you slow down. Then you realize how powerful the mind really is. When you get into the neuroscience behind this, it will blow your mind how underactive you've been, how brakes on imaginations have been pressed every single day. It's here. It's happening now. Do you know how many people had plans for today that died yesterday? My wife's mom and dad saved all their life to go away and retire at 70 and travel the world. At 68, my mother-in-law got Alzheimer's. And by 69, they were both dead. They left $1.9 million in the bank. They were working class. We think we have time. You don't have time, guys. Appreciate that time. Realize how powerful you are. Go out there, be a leader, walk success, eat success. But that success was money for me at one time. And I realized when I had everything, that was still miserable. Success to me now is after 30 years, my daughter coming back into my life, introducing me to my 3-month-old granddaughter. That's my life today. The rest was just wasted. But without me going through that, I can't be here to teach other people that are listening that you don't have to do all that, guys.
So one of the most fascinating areas of study right now is this intergenerational story of addiction. So this is about how patterns get passed down even when substances aren't involved. So from your experience, how do trauma and addictive tendencies get passed down both biologically and through the family systems?
A lot of it is family systems. So these learned behaviors, especially from dysfunctional families, are carried out. We learn from our mums and dads. So when we're a toddler in the kitchen and mom says, hey, don't put your hand on the stove, it's going to burn you. What do? We put our hand on the stove and it burns us. What we learn then is whatever mom says is truthful. So whatever mom says, I have to do. Otherwise, I'm going to get hurt again. And then traits and learned behavior and measurement is passed down from generation to generation. We pass them patterns. And then all of a sudden, that working part of the brain, you don't worry about a pattern. It just happens. If you want to break away, you have to realize where the patterns are and how we break them. And everybody can do it, because if you come from a dysfunctional family, whether you like it or not, if you haven't addressed the childhood trauma around, you're going to pass traits on to your children. And you have the biggest and kindest heart in the world. But you might get annoyed at a certain day and the kid's going to pick that up, and that's how he's going to react going forward. So generational, 100%. To break that boundary, you have to recognize that, go back and discover, discard, and break that pattern with your children going in a different direction. And the children will grow up different. Whatever environment we're put in, we react to that environment. So I found is when I was hanging around the projects, I was the projects guy. I was a fighter. I was a street fighter. I was a musician. That was my world. You place that into a university where there's 10 knives and 9 forks on a table, and you sit down and go, holy shit, you freak out. But you adapt to that. We're like chameleons. If we let ourselves go and understand our identity, we can adapt to anything. So at that lunch, when we sat down, I looked around and I waited for other people to start eating, and then realized it's from the outside in. And the cultural, I didn't know that, but then I knew that and acted like that. There was an experiment we did many years ago, and we'd heard of it before. A friend of mine was the headmaster at a school in Leeds. We went down to him one day and we're chatting to him, and we said, we have a test that will tell you, in all your pupils from 8 to 11, we can point out the 3 geniuses in your class. And he said, there's no way. So he cleared it with the board. If he come back, went down there, give all the tests to about 20 children, 8 till 11. And then we took all the tests in again. We'll be back tomorrow with your 3 geniuses. So the next day we come back, here's your 3. We'll just come back in a year's time. A year to the date, we went back to that school. And I said to the headmaster, how's our kids doing? And he said, this is unbelievable, Rob. We need to take this to the government. Like, what you said came true. One's already had an offer of college. Is it, gee, how did you know, Rob? How did you know? So we told him that when we left the first time, we threw all the papers away. We never looked at them. And we picked 3 random kids out of his school. And because we told you they were geniuses, so you treated them like geniuses, so they become geniuses.
I had a feeling that's where that story was going.
It's crazy. So if you surround yourself with 9 depressed people, you will become the 10. Who surround themselves is very important. And people don't realize that. If you have a friend that's hanging on from years and years, or a drug addict who's still using, you will end up taking drugs. One person cannot change 9 people around you. 9 people can change 1. How do we know that? Again, we'll try that. So we brought 9 actors into my waiting room out there, give you $100. Every time the buzzer goes, stand up for 10 seconds, sit down. That's all I want you to do. One by one, we'll call you in as if you were patients. One patient was invited to come in and go. The scene was set. 9 people stood up. She's on her phone, glanced back to her phone. Everyone sat down again. 40 seconds, everyone stood up. Now her phone's in her lap and she's looking round. On the third one, she stood up with everybody else, which is what we expected. But as we called them one by one, she was the only person in the waiting room left, and she stood up. We fall into these patterns. We fall into this learned behavior around us, and it's very difficult to pull away. So you can't change 9 people, but what if you started hanging around the 9 people that you wanted to be? It's the same thing. You will follow a trait and you will become.
This is so fascinating. And I want to dive into some of the brain biology behind this idea. Some people see addiction only as harmful, but the same brain systems that drive it, the ones we're talking about right now, have helped us to survive, to seek food, safety, connection, and pleasure. How do you explain this survival-based side, the brain and the patterns that you're speaking about?
The hypothalamus and the basal ganglia learned behaviors are survival part. So there are 4 chemicals in the brain that need to happen every day for one to be happy and free. The 4 chemicals, like most people know, are dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. We know that them 4 chemicals need to happen. What people don't know is the major neurotransmitters, dopamine and serotonin, are created in the stomach, not in the head. So unless you're addressing the stomach, the eating, we do red light therapy on the stomach and the brain because that's where it's created. So all them chemicals are storing up every single day. You're creating that with each new lifestyle that you see, and it causes a huge change. One of the neurotransmitters that's not been created for that day will throw the rest of the body and the psychology behind it off. We never wonder why we're doing this or why we feel this way, because the major chemicals in the brain are not working properly. And that also bodes into the prefrontal cortex. What we see many times, the prefrontal cortex is our decision maker. It has a few other jobs, but it's our decision maker. So when we come up with a problem, the prefrontal cortex screams at the rest of the brain going, I need an answer now. What happens to most people is the answer comes from the subconscious brain, so in milliseconds. That's the prefrontal cortex job, to get an answer. The only problem with that is it doesn't have to be the right answer. So when the brain screens for this, depending what's going on in the background, the software in the background is running it, whether it's a good or whether it's been bugged. That's the answer you'll get. We have to be aware of this every single day. It's like a computer. What we put in, we get out. We can't put crap into a computer and expecting genius out. The whole of the head, the whole of the body, the whole of the mind and the way it works takes part in this every single day. And if you drop one ball, it has an effect on you, without a doubt.
So when we go back to what you said before, that 9 addicts can make one person an addict, how does this brain system play into that?
Well, if you hang around 9 drug addicts, you'll become the 10, is what we say. You see, you can't drink yourself into becoming an alcoholic. It's impossible. People think Jimmy around the corner, he drinks a bottle of vodka, right? He's an alcoholic. Well, first of all, alcoholism is the only self-diagnosed illness in the world. Drug addiction is the addictive personality. So when we hang around the same people, become the same traits, become the same world every single time. And it's spotting this early enough. If you hang around a painter, you'll try painting one day. So if you're hanging around these guys that have all this in common of behavior, fighting, a project, whatever it is, then you become one of those people. The patterning will pass down from learned behavior, pass down from traits and routines that they have that you'll become. You will adopt those. So it's not so much you'll become a drug addict if you hang around. You'll start taking drugs. If the 9 people around you are doing it, you will. Social skills, everything screams at us to fit in. So we end up partaking. Everybody wants to fit in from birth. We want to fit in with people. Anything to the contrary is damaging to the brain. If you want to make somebody insane real quick, isolate them. Nobody wants to be isolated, so they go back to their tribe. I've often heard that said because that's where they feel safe. Now, there's a bad side to that. Safe haven. We had a girl snatched off the streets in England back in the late 60s, never found. 9 months later, a police car's following another car down a country road, and he had a broken leg. They pulled him over. And back in the day, they didn't have all the telephones and stuff. So what the bobbies used to do is, to prove it's their car, they'd say, hey, what's in the trunk? What's in the boot? Open it up, yellow jet, it's his car, off you go. This guy was sketchy. They found a stolen screwdriver in the back. So they go back to the house, and in the house, there was lawnmowers, ladders, there were drills, all stolen. But they found a box in the corner about 4 foot wide by 12 foot wide. They said, we know you've got more stolen stuff in there. He denied all knowledge of this box. They smashed the lock off, opened it up, and there was the 15-year-old girl that went missing 9 months ago. She was bruised, she was battered, but she was alive. He used to take her out every day, and you can imagine what he used to do with her, back in the box. When they opened the box, this policewoman led in. She took this young child's hand, and she helped her step out the box. She took a police coat off, and she wrapped it around the girl. What's the first thing the girl did? She got back in the box. And that's what we do in life. Even though it's painful, even though we don't want to do it, it's that learned behavior. This has become your safe haven. And that's how we act every single day. The message to everybody, you've got to smash the box, man. You got to smash that box to smithereens. Don't just break it. So psychologically, we've got to repair that so you never go there again. And what happens to somebody like that who never goes back and smashes the box is that experience of going through that trauma becomes your greatest asset to teach others going forward.
How do you think modern life, like technology, hyperproductivity, gratification, prevent us from smashing that box?
There's always something new on the horizon, and instant gratification is not quick enough for us. That's the problem with today's society is everyone's busy in the phones. Everyone's busy with the iPads. Nobody has time for each other. So we're losing our social skills as human beings, especially the new generation. We can't socialize anymore. We don't know how to act in society. And then we're seeing more kids withdrawn. We're seeing more kids, God forbid, shooting up schools, all this stuff because we can't communicate with each other. We've just stopped doing that unless it's on a device, which is not real. That's some kid in here there. You don't understand, Doctor. I got 5,000 friends. You do? Yeah, every one of them's a friend on Facebook. Oh, you just plugged into the wall. You know that, don't you? They're not your friends. But he was convinced that they were his friends. Now, socially and psychologically, the kid's going to withdraw from society. And some crazy idea that he gets on some YouTube that pops across something crazy this kid's done, he's going to end up doing. He's going to watch more videos. And I don't care what anybody says about videos has an effect on them. It becomes a learned behavior. And that's what we carry through because 15 years ago, we thought the brain was hardwired. I totally disagreed with that, but it's not hardwired. 300 neural pathways die every single day. What are you replacing them with? Repetitive thought patterns from the past or self-health, fortune, wealth going forward? When I say wealth, I don't mean money. I mean family. Friends, if you can get in that position we talked about before, that's living life. That's rich. That's amazing. You'll have a fulfilled life. The guys that's pressing the computer at 5 to 12 to get his reporting, you're going to die early. Human beings do not work well under pressure. If you're going to McDonald's every day, you're going to die sooner than you should. Most of the supermarket is plastic food. If the first ingredient on your health bar you're eating is canola oil, we have a problem because a human being cannot methylate canola oils, all the rancid oils we can't methylate. So Whatever we eat, we don't use it as a source. It has to be methylated into the source that a human being can use. But if you're eating crap, like 90% of supermarket food, we can't methylate that, let's say, rancid oil. If we can't methylate a food or protein, there becomes a deficiency in the body. The deficiencies are heart problem, lung problem, kidney, all that stuff. Everybody thinks that heart disease is passed on, generational stuff. No, probably 1%, if that. The rest is the staple diet you get from parents. So you continue that staple diet that's not being methylated properly. If you can afford it, do the MTHR gene test. We do it here, but if you're nice enough, maybe come down one day, guys. If you see us, we'll do it free. It's the knowledge, man. Knowledge saves us. There's a lot of myths around health. So we have to take all this information and stand up with a few of us out there. And when I say few, millions, like Gary Brecker, you got to stand up and go, no, enough's enough, man. And most people hate the new science. Most people hate the new ways. No, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're talking. I'm the guy who's 64 and doesn't look it. I'm the guy that's living his best life ever, and millions like me. Don't sit at home behind your computer telling me, what you think about me. You think I care what you think about me?
I love it.
You can get in that position. You're living the dream.
Speaking of that, you work with addicts all day long. And obviously a big part of that is rewriting those patterns and those habits. Realistically, how long does it take to connect those new neural pathways and get them to stick so they are just second nature?
10 minutes. I can change certain pathways, not all of them, of course. That's a 90-day deal when chemicals change after 90 days. But you'll change after the first 10 minutes in my therapy room with me. 10 minutes, that's all it takes. And then you start getting excited about life. But we do a lot of stuff before you get into the therapy room.
Yeah, so tell me about that. Walk us through that.
You have to pass an assessment, and come on, that's just it. And the assessment will try anything to put you off. We want to make sure that you're ready to work. Whether you want to build a podcast to 1 million people or whether you're alcoholic drug addict, it makes no difference. You've got to prove to us that you're ready to commit to this deal. And if you are, and all contracts have signed, we research you. What new patient comes on, it's Billy. Let's go on the social media to find out who he is. We find out who he is, where he comes from, what he does for a living, what his hobbies are. Let's say he's a Cowboys fan. We live in Texas. He's at the Cowboy game. He's got all the stuff on. So when he comes and parks in our car park outside, we'll lodge a empty can or something with Cowboys logo on it in a head somewhere. Okay, so we may put cones out in the car park so he can only park one place, only one free space he can park. When he parks, there's a Cowboys thing in the hedge that he can see, but it's over there subliminally in the background. When he gets to the front door, it's a lockdown facility because of security and who might be in here. The girl will open the door in a Cowboys t-shirt. When he sits down in reception, we'll leave him for 10 minutes. It just so happens on this huge screen that way of reception, the Cowboys are playing Philadelphia. And then when he comes into my office, there's a picture on the wall of the 19, whatever they were, Cowboy, so by the time he sits down, all the barriers have gone. All the boundaries have gone. Everything's ready to sit down and talk. And that's where I start. If you come and see me, if you sign up for the 90-day program, it's 1 hour a day. And the first 10, 15 minutes, you're not convinced, I'll refund your money and away you can go. No hard feelings. Nobody company does that. Just don't know what we know. They haven't studied what we've studied. We haven't paid the price that all of us have paid. All of us are recovered alcoholics, depression, manic PTSD survivors. But we've all been there and done it. So we don't ask you how you feel. We're going to tell you how you feel. Because once the anterior cingulate cortex, the ventromedial prefrontal cortex are damaged, which they are, they become underactive with stress, with addiction. If you don't know how you feel, we're going to tell you how you feel. I'm not going to tell you what a great day you have. I'm going to make sure you have it. So before we do anything pertaining to all the software we have, first 10 minutes, I'm changing your mind. End of story. And I've never failed yet. Never have to refund anybody's money yet because we're educated streetwise. So we've been there and done it and we know the way out.
What's your favorite story of transformation?
We picked a guy up once from LA jail. They wouldn't tell us who it was, obviously. So we looked at the agent. It's got like 25 famous people on there. So we picked him. We went down there and I had obviously drivers, bodyguards with me. And we sat in the little room at the courthouse and the attorney walked in and then in walked this guy. And he was shackled. I recognized his face straight away. He was taking a dip in Hollywood. He was the bad boy, disgrace and stuff. We had a quick chat and went in the court. And the judge says, I'm okay to pass everything on to you, Dr. Kelly. And you can take it in your care from now until when. But if he goes missing, because he always used to do that, you'll be back in my courthouse. And I said, Judge, I'm not prepared to do that. And he said, well, that's the only thing on offer. So we flew in a private plane back home, helicoptered into the ranch, and he stayed with us for 90 days. Now, we was working him so hard that we've not only changed his brain, we've changed his actions, his thought patterns, his behavior, his eating patterns, his exercise patterns. So it's a full overhaul. He's sat in my front room and the gate bell goes. So the chauffeur got this big envelope and he comes back, knocks on the door. I said, excuse me, Dr. Robb, this is for the guy. He sat there and he opens this envelope and he pulls it out. And because we were telling him, you're going to become the biggest movie star ever. You're going to become the highest paid movie star ever. And he kind of believed us and kind of not. And he opened a script that was the biggest selling movie of all time. That guy still calls me every week and thanks us. The other one is we were called to an old lady's house. Her granddaughter was there and she was on the couch. She was a heroin addict. The hospital literally sent her home to die. And her parents couldn't afford anything. And so I remember scooping her off the couch. She weighed about 80 pounds, just barely speak. And we took her back to our ranch and we worked on her furiously pertaining to the psyche and the health and the diet and the epigenetics and all that stuff and neuroscience. And we got healthy again. We kept her as our pro bono and we worked with her and she was working with the trainers and nutritionists. And then we took her back to her parents who would never speak to her again. And they were amazing. And off she went and I didn't see her. But we have this book, big book of AA that we used to use every day and there's certain markings in it that only I do. And I saw her in a meeting about 5 or 6 years later. And I said, is that her? Anyway, she didn't say anything in the meeting. And just before the end, she stood up and she said, I want to thank Robb. And everybody looked at me and I'm like, holy shit, what have I done wrong? He said, 4 years ago, he picked me up off my grandma's sofa and he took me back to his lodge and we stayed there in his treatment for 90 days. And I just want to tell Robb that I'm married, I have my own business, I have 2 beautiful children, and my life is a success thanks to you. Well, I started crying, sobbing like a baby. It's like, That's what it's about, man. I don't get involved with the money side of this business. I don't want to do it. I never watch any programs I'm on. I've never listened to any podcasts. I've not even read my own book. And I'll tell you why. Because I might start believing that hype and that shit out there. When you're going to Paramount Studios and they fly you over a private jet and they put you in a 5-star hotel, you start to believe that shit, you know? I can't do that. I have to stay grounded every single day.
How do you do that? How do you stay away from all that?
I have a strong morning routine and a strong nighttime routine. So we talked about the subconscious brain not running the day. So this is how I do it. I wake up in the morning, I swing my legs and I sit on the side of my bed and I take 20 exaggerated breaths in. Because my body's got no oxygen. What it does is it sparks the conscious brain off and every single cell in your body is flooded with oxygen. You see, the lack of oxygen equals the disease, I've told you before. So I do the 20 exaggerated breath. I walk into the bathroom, I brush my teeth with my right hand. So I do a week on the left, a week on the right to change neural pathways and patterns around from the same old thing. Then I stand in front of the mirror every single day. I stand 6 feet away. I'll tell you why in a second. And I look myself in the eye and say, I love you 10 times in a nice voice. I love you. I love you. Just 10 times. Feel stupid today after all these years? Seems stupid today. But what that's doing is it's feeding the subconscious brain. And the reason we stand 6 feet away from the mirror is if we get close up to the mirror while putting makeup on or shaving, we see all our blemishes. But when you stand 6 feet away with the optical illusion, all your blemishes disappear. That's how people see you. And it's important to know that that's how people see you. They don't see you like this. So they don't see in the mirror what you see. And it affects the confidence going out every single day. And if you feel great every day, you're going to be great to other people. You're going to get more involved, smiling on the elevator. I'm the annoying guy on the elevator. Hey, morning, guys. How are we doing? Is everyone good? Who's a 10 out of 10 today? I'm that annoying guy. But everybody getting off the elevator on their floor go out with a smile on their face, changing lives. And that's what I live for today. I live for somebody to come up or see somebody that's not doing well. And I was at a signal light, traffic light, it was on red, and guy comes up begging for money. I give him $20. And my friend says, well, why did you do that? I said, because I wanted to. Well, you know what he's going to do with that, don't you? I said, well, I hope he's going to buy drugs and alcohol, because that's what I used to do. My job is to give. What he does with it is de minimis. It's got nothing to do with it. My gift is the money. What he does with it is none of my business. And that's how I live my life today, is just serving others the best I can and giving shit away whenever I can.
What I love about all of this is you are the epitome of the person that goes out and does what they can for that day, in that moment, for who's in front of them. A lot of us get stuck in this mindset. I got to do something big. I got to go out there and change the world. But you have given us at least 5 examples of how you wake up and you do that for somebody else, and that ripples throughout the community.
Yeah. And it makes you a better human being. And everybody's got something that they're worried about. And to share that with a stranger like me is very uplifting. And if I could help, I'm going to help. And I don't take photographs of it. You never see me in the paper. We pay school debts off all over San Antonio. I didn't know there was such thing as a school debt. Like lunch debts where they can't have lunch today. I was like, what? So we choose 5 schools. And to pay their lunch debt off was like, you think you were trying to take the school away. It's like, you can't do that. It's impossible. Nobody does that. What are you talking about? Well, we'll come in. How much do you owe? The school lunch debt, how much is in your school? $15,000. Okay. We're going to write a check. We'll do that on Monday. We do that every year to 6, 7 schools. We just pay it off, you know. We got $5,000 in every safe around the world of my office. That $5,000 has got to be spent, given away. If it doesn't go every single month, then the staff are liable. There's people starving to death. There's people can't afford the kids' food. And we're sat in with $5,000 in the safe. That's my mentality. It's like, why'd you do all these things? There was a couple of guys when I was on the street that saved my life from doing that. Saved my life. Derek, who I met, saved my life. John, who we've never traced, saved my life. I want to be your Derek or John. I'm not your average person. And the guy that's changing the world is the guy that don't give a shit. It's the guy you're never going to get rid of. We're going to keep doing it, and we're going to keep shouting until everybody has a chance to come across us to recover from whatever they're going through. That's it.
It's amazing. So before we let you go, for anyone that's listening to this today and they feel stuck in a destructive cycle, whether socially acceptable or not, what's the first step toward change that you recommend that they can do right this minute today?
Start dialogue with somebody, because we all want to isolate, be on our own. Start dialogue with one of your best friends you can trust. If you've got more than 3 friends in your inner circle but don't want you to succeed, get rid of them. Start the dialogue. And you'll be surprised. Call us. Nobody's ever going to sell you anything. We have a room. This is for mums and dads whose children are going through addiction or alcoholism. My mum died early with a cancer because of me when I was homeless. And my dad followed because he had a broken heart and he couldn't live anymore. We have an office here with 2 people in it, one of them being my wife, that will sit there from 8 in the morning till 4 p.m. And that's for mums and dads or sisters or brothers who have seen their loved ones go through this and haven't got a clue what to do. We call the number on the website and you can chat them days 7 hours a day if you want. It makes no difference to us, and we're never going to charge you or we're never going to sell you a program. We just want to be of service and we just want to help. So start that dialogue with someone. Call us. Call me. Come and find me on social media. I do a TikTok every morning. I have like 10 followers. If you want to talk, message me here on TikTok when I'm doing it live every morning. If you're going through some of the stuff that we've spoke about today, and I mean really going through it, don't just text me because you're bored. If you really at that point whether it's suicide or what, I want you to call me or text me first. 214-600-0210 is my personal cell phone number. Text me and tell me who you are and what you're going through. And what I will do is I'll text you back instantly and we'll arrange over the next day or 2 to have a 20-minute phone call or Zoom call together. I will change your life in them 20 minutes. And you know, if I don't, I'm going to send you $100 for wasting your time, because time is valuable. Please just text that number if you're in that place, because I'll tell you something right now. I'd rather give 20 minutes up of my time than hear of your suicide next week.
Well said. Dr. Robb, it has been awesome to talk to you. You have amazing energy. It's so bright. I can't thank you enough for joining us today.
Of course, Ryan. It's been amazing. Some great questions. And guys, I'm with you all.
If you'd like to dive deeper into Dr. Robb's work or explore his recovery programs, head over to robbkelly.com. You'll find resources, insights, and ways to connect with him directly. Thanks for listening to Beyond 80%. Make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss an opportunity to learn, question, and evolve. If you enjoyed this episode, the best way to support the show is to share it with someone in your circle, a friend, a colleague, anyone who's ready to think a little deeper. Until next time, I'm your host, Ryan Olekson, and this is Beyond 80%.